We're back with our 10 best bets for the Week 9 college football slate. Obviously, early in the week and every single Monday, we post our full college football predictions. So it's every single game for the Week 9 slate. And we've been doing this all year long and last year too, actually. But over 4 hours of college football predictions were already posted earlier this week. So if your game that you want to see is not part of these 10, go make sure to check that out in the description down below. But again, here are my 10 best bets, money lines, and spreads for week number 9 of the college football season. Also in the channel, folks, our daily NBA best bets every single day for the rest of the NBA season. We just got started, obviously. Weekly NFL predictions plus best bets and best player props both coming out on Saturday. Also, daily MLB best bets still with the World Series with the Dodgers and the Blue Jays, and our best bets and predictions for UFC 321 Aspinall versus Gane from Abu Dhabi, UAE, again for the heavyweight championship. That's going on as the same exact time as college football on Saturday, but UFC pay-per-view best bets and predictions are also on Greedo Plays MMA. Okay, let's get on to the first of our 10 best bets for college football, week number 9, and for the first time, I have nothing for Friday. I always like including something for Friday. I have nothing. If you want a best bet for Friday, go check out our NBA best bets. I have 3 moneyline predictions that are plays that I really like over there. I have nothing for college football on Friday. I'll go over the games really quickly. North Texas, Charlotte, 25.5 point line, hate it. Games in Charlotte, North Texas should blow them out, but I don't know. VTech, Cal, I took VTech early in the week. I have zero confidence in VTech beating up on California, though, especially what Cal did last time they came out to the East Coast. So don't love that. Boise, Nevada. I mean, again, Boise 21.5 point favorites in Reno. I'm just good. I'm good. It's going to be a weird game. Nobody's going to be at McKay Stadium, I think they call it in Reno. I'm all right there. So we're just going to go straight to Saturday, and we're going to do 10 bets on Saturday alone. And I know in the past I've done 2 bets on Friday. Again, there's just nothing this week. Hopefully we get better stuff over the course of the early week for week 10. As I'm looking at the schedule now, hopefully we get Syracuse at good money against North Carolina. I'm hoping Syracuse is anywhere in that -4-ish mark, and we are firing on them next Friday on Halloween. Anyways, though, let's start with our first of 10 best bets here for week number 9, kicking things off with the Southern Methodist Mustangs. As they go on the road, we're kicking things off on the CW network as SMU goes on the road to take on the Wake Forest Demon Deacons. SMU is a 2.5 point favorite on the road, and sign me up for that. I get it. Taking a 2.5 point favorite on the road against a good team, or at least a good record team, always isn't the best possible thing to do, but I actually quite like SMU going on the road and beating Wake Forest. Guys, SMU's 5-2, Wake Forest is 4-2. I'm telling you, there's a big difference in SMU's 4-2 and Wake Forest's 4-2. There's a huge difference in it, okay? For starters, look at their ACC records. SMU's 3-0 in the ACC with a legitimate pathway to the postseason. I thought it was kind of over for them after they lost both their Big 12 non-con games against the Baylor Bears and the Texas Christian Horned Frogs, but I guess not. 3 consecutive wins in the ACC over Syracuse, over Stanford, and on the road at Clemson has them all the way back before a huge matchup coming up against the Miami Hurricanes in their next outing. But for now, again, gotta take care of Wake Forest on the road in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. I think they will. Again, SMU 3-0 in the ACC. We look at what the Demon Deacons have done. Yeah, they're on a 2-game winning streak, but again, this is why I don't love VTech to go to beat Cal at home. Wake Forest went to VTech and beat them by 7 points. They then played Oregon State and Corvallis, and obviously they blew out Oregon State because Oregon State sucks. But look at what Wake Forest did early in their ACC play. You play NC State at home, you lose by 10 points. You play Georgia Tech at home, a game that you should have won, and a game that you went for it in overtime where you could have tied it and sent it into double overtime, but you go for it, and you end up losing by 1 point on your own home turf. Again, you decided, we need to get out of this game as soon as possible at home. Oh, that always goes well, doesn't it? And hey, Wake Forest early in the season only beat Kennesaw State by 1 point. But hey, look at the Owls. Big victory earlier this week, getting it done against an inept football team. Of course, I'm talking about the Florida International Panthers. Anyways, the beginning of the week has been rough. I cannot lie. But that's why we don't put those in best bets, because what the hell is midweek football? All right, FIU, way to go, New Mexico State, Logan Fife, way to go, Georgia State. I mean, if you want to see my daily reactions to midweek CUSA and Sunbelt football, Greedo plays clips on TikTok. We post every single day over there as well. Okay, I'm taking SMU though to beat Wake Forest, and they should beat them down. I don't care. Wake's won back-to-back games. They've beaten crappy teams in back-to-back games. Southern Methodist is looking right now like the team that got into the postseason last year. Not a team that's going to shut you down offensively, but an offense that can fire on all cylinders, and obviously that starts starts with the quarterback of the operation, and that's obviously Kevin Jennings. The future's still very bright for Jennings, do not get me wrong, only a junior. He'll be much better again in the senior season, in a year where I believe SMU should probably go back and win the Atlantic Coast. I know Miami's going to be a problem again, but no Carson Beck next year. Ruben Bain's going to go to the NFL draft. I know those are just only 2 players of many, but I think SMU's going to be in a much better spot next year. And I don't know what their non-con is next year. I hope it's easier. Regardless, though, SMU has shown that they can win the ACC 3 consecutive wins, and they went on the road to Clemson. They go to Death Valley and win. And I get it. Going to 2025, Dabo Swinney's Death Valley is not like it was in, 2021 and 2019 and 2018. It's still difficult to go to Clemson and win, though. And SMU successfully did that, and they went out there and scored 35 points. They will definitely outscore the Demon Deacons. I can guarantee you that. Robbie Ashford has not been great this season. Deshaun Purdy, who gets some run too and played in the Oregon State game, isn't that much better. They've got a good run game, I'll say this. Once Desmond Claiborne gets going in the run game, Damon Claiborne, not Desmond. When Damon Claiborne gets going in the run game, they're good, but it's just not enough to be an explosive SMU offense, a team that might score every single time they touch the ball against Wake Forest. I get it, the game's in North Carolina. I don't care. Give me the Southern Methodist Mustangs on the road again in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. SMU minus 2.5 on the road on the CW network. On to our second best bet of the video, we move to the Big Ten. I saw this at the beginning of the week, and I still like it. Northwestern plus 7.5. I don't know why they're 7.5 point dogs in Nebraska, but here we are. And this is not, the last couple of seasons what Northwestern's done, where they don't score and they lose these, 30-7 games that are boring every week. They, beat Miami of Ohio 13-6. It's a little different right now with Northwestern. They still don't score that many points, but they're finding ways to win, oddly enough, now. So, actually, I can't... Now, they still don't score. But they find ways to win, which is different than the last couple of seasons. Don't look now. Northwestern's a game away from being bowl eligible. Now, which game for the rest of their schedule do they win? I don't know. Maybe it's this one. It could be. Nebraska, USC, Michigan, Minnesota, Illinois. But anyways, they're finding ways to win. 4 consecutive wins for Northwestern. This is a 5-2 football team. It's a 5-2 Northwestern team going on the road in Nebraska, and they're 7.5 point dogs. Guys, I'm seeing Nebraska fans look at this line on Twitter and say, why are we 7.5 point favorites here? I've seen Cornhuskers fans say, we all know how this one's going to go, don't we? Yeah, Northwestern's going to cover. Believe you me, Northwestern will cover this game. 7.5 points is a lot for the Wildcats. This is a team that plays really good defense. I mean, they've covered this in every game they've played so far this year. Well, every game they won, obviously, because they lost to Oregon, they lost to Tulane on the road. And I get it, they have not been a great road team with that Tulane loss, but this team just went to Happy Valley a couple weeks ago and won. And I get it, going to Happy Valley is not that impressive at all, but they did. I mean, James Franklin, guys, the whole era of James Franklin football in Penn State, it's a long era. The final straw was losing at home to Preston Stone and Northwestern. Unbelievable. So, I mean, this is a team riding a lot of momentum. They're playing great defense. Preston Stone, I mean, he's not going to do anything that's going to wow you offensively, don't get me wrong. There's a reason he left Southern Methodist, because Kevin Jennings was much better. But I look at Nebraska, okay, I mean, their offense looked good early in the year. They just went to Minnesota and scored 6 points. And really, I'm not going to say it's Raiola's fault. I think Raiola's playing good football. I think it's everything around him that's struggling, though. I mean, this is a 5-2 team. So, again, these two teams have identical records. I get it. The game's in Lincoln. Nebraska always puts out a good crowd. I understand that. It's a difficult place to play. Hell, ask Coach Prime and Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter. Oh, Travis Hunter didn't play that game, did he? No, he did. Yeah, that was a difficult game for Colorado last year, right? Very difficult game. And, yeah, Travis played that game. He had 110 yards. Going to Nebraska's tough. I get it. This seems to me Big Ten defensive battle. This is what I look at this game at being. I think Nebraska's probably going to win. I think they win a very low-scoring game. I think we see a 20-14 final or a 17-14 final for Nebraska. That's probably a little bit more realistic. Now, Raiola's good in spots. Don't get me wrong. I think Raiola's actually playing good football this season. Everything else kind of lacking around him. I think their starting running back, Emmett Johnson's had a really good year so far. 713 yards so far in 7 games. That's big time, 7 touchdowns. And again, Raiola's played well. Defensively, they're nothing all that special, and their offense will strike out, and they will stall out at times too. Again, watch that Minnesota game; they barely score, and it's not like again these daunted Northwestern Wildcats are going to work the ball up and down the field all game long. That's not going to always happen. I get that, but again, Northwestern has a knack for just staying in football games. Look at their scores in their last 3 Big Ten games, and they just find ways to win these games. 17-14 whenever UCLA. And I know, again, that game doesn't have the meaning that it would now if they were to beat UCLA. I understand. Going to Happy Valley and beating Penn State 22-21 is a tremendous victory. I don't care how bad Penn State will ever be. Going on the road into that environment and beating that team. Guys, Drew Aller gets injured at the end of the game. Aller played 3 quarters. And Northwestern goes up there and beats that team. And then beating Purdue, I get it, 19-0. The Boilermakers absolutely suck, and they will always suck in football. I get that. But again, Northwestern's finding ways to win, and this is a team that's playing with a lot of momentum right now. Guys, Northwestern's playing with house money, right? I mean, I assume their goal this season was to make a bowl game, and obviously they still need to acquire that one more win. I get it. They've got wins over the Leathernecks of West Illinois, UCLA, UL Monroe, Penn State, and Purdue. They still need that one win to get back into bowl season. I get that. But this is a team playing on 4 consecutive wins. They're very confident. The defense is playing with a lot of fire right now, and they are seeing a Nebraska team that put up 6 points last week. That's a vulnerable team right now that Northwestern gets to play, and I think they are going to execute on that as well. I'm going to take the Northwestern Wildcats plus 7.5. Again, my biggest thing too, they can lose by a touchdown, and they still cover. And I get it, Northwestern just a couple weeks ago went to Maryland and won. They beat Michigan by 11 points. Styles make fights. Northwestern will give you one of the toughest defensive battles you are going to play. I'm taking the Wildcats plus 7.5. Don't even need them to win, but give me Northwestern plus 7.5 here on the road in Lincoln against the Cornhuskers. On now to our third best bet of the video. We move to one that seems like a no-brainer to me. I don't know, again, why we get plus odds for this, but I'll take it. Wazoo plus 100 against Toledo. So a very weird game in the midst of all of these conference matchups. We talk about a game in the ACC, we talk about a game in the Big Ten, and now we get a MAC team going on the road to take on a Pac-2 team in the Washington State Cougars. I've seen Wazoo in back-to-back weeks go on the road in tough environments in games they are not expected to win and give 2 ranked teams and teams with still playoff aspirations such difficult battles. I mean, guys, they go to Ole Miss and lose the game by 3 points. 24-21 at Ole Miss. They were in that football game. They are in the game at Virginia against the Cavaliers. They lose the game due to a late game safety, and obviously that is the difference in the final score as Virginia wins it 22-20. But I've just seen Wazoo go, to hell and back with these 2 teams and just, let it scrape by at the end. And that's okay, because, guys, Wazoo, you couldn't even bet on Wazoo money line going into the Ole Miss game. I remember making the full 4-hour prediction video and going over Wazoo Ole Miss, and I will not lie to you, I counted out the Cougs as well, saying, oh, okay, well, Ole Miss is a 34.5 point favorite. I'll take them to cover that because Wazoo, I've seen them get blown out earlier this season, and that was true. Look at how they played North Texas. Look how they played Washington. They looked bad. Well, they go into Ole Miss and lose the game by 3 points, and then they come back and only lose by 2 points to a very good Virginia team. I don't know if Virginia's as good as their record and the ranking indicates, but because the FSU one doesn't hold any weight anymore. But still, you go on the road and lose by 2 points. I will take that. The quarterback switch from Jackson Potter to ZV Eckhouse has been solid. They don't really run the ball that well, but their defense has been pretty locked down as of late. And their offense, again, I can kind of just give you the same Northwestern spiel. Like, they're going to find ways. They'll get in the red zone, they'll rip off these scrappy drives, and at the end of the drive, you're going to say, oh, who really did anything? I don't know. They had a penalty in there, they had, a couple 10-yard carries, and they had a 15-yard pass to the outside, and we're at the 30-yard line. Like, again, Wazoo this season just manages, at least what we've seen in the last couple of games, they've managed field positioning really well. They found ways to just, again, work the ball downfield when they need it, and again, that results into, games where you lose to number 4 and number 18 by a combined 5 points. As for the Toledo Rockets, it's a team that can't win on the road. They have struggled on the road all year long. At the Glass Bowl in Toledo, they've looked great. I mean, watch that Western Kentucky victory they get early in the season, and I don't know if the WKU win holds as much weight. I know they just went to La Tech and won earlier this week on Tuesday, but, going out there and blowing out WKU 45-21 is big time, but that's at home, and that's at the Glass Bowl. They blow out Morgan State, obviously, 16-0, blow out Akron 45-3, and Kent State 45-10. Watch every single game Toledo's gone on the road for. They have struggled. At Kentucky, I get it, that's Kentucky, but that's still when Calzado was starting. Toledo loses the game 24-16. They go to West Michigan, they lose 14-13, and they go to Bowling Green, they lose 28-23. Yeah, these all tight games. Sure, well, I expect this game to be close as well. Like, I don't expect Wazoo to blow Toledo out, but I expect them to find a way to win. And that's why I'm very surprised it's plus money. Watch how they've played. I mean, are we not going to, finally put some respect on Wazoo, because that's fine with me. I'm going to take their money line here. And I get it. Toledo, again, my common talking points all the time with Toledo is the same thing. It's Tucker Gleason. And why wouldn't it be? Gleason's one of the better quarterbacks you can find in the Mid-American Conference. They've got a decent run game around him, and Gleason, again, has the possibility and capability of throwing for 300-plus yards every single night. It's every single night he steps on the field. I mean, Toledo's always been a very quarterback-friendly school, as, dating back to when Daquan Finn was going to MAC championship games with this team. And, oh, by the way, there was a guy named Tucker Gleason who was behind Daquan Finn for years at this school. So, again, they have put together in the last 5 seasons 2 really good quarterbacks. Again, we see how much success Finn has had. Well, yeah, varied success, but good success over in Oxford for the Miami of Ohio Redhawks. It's a good quarterback school, I get that, but you're going on the road to Wazoo here. Wazoo feels like, again, they are, you are a 3-4 team, but you feel a lot better about yourself being 3-4 right now. And look at the remaining schedule for Wazoo. You think, okay, we beat Toledo. We have 2 games against Oregon State. Boom, we're bowl eligible. Because, yes, this is the season where, this is the odd year where Wazoo and Oregon State are going to play 2 times this season. Can't believe it's happening, but it is. They're going to play a home and home. And next week, they go to Corvallis on prime time on CBS. You heard me right. Wazoo's going to Corvallis on prime time to play on CBS at 4:30. Are we serious? 7:30 on the East Coast. Nationally televised game between probably 4-4 Wazoo and 1-7 Oregon State. Are we serious? Anyways, though, Wazoo needs some momentum going into, I guess, can we call it a rivalry game now between Wazoo and the Beavs? I think it might be. They need some momentum going into that game. I like how they've been playing recently, and also at home, too. Okay, if you take away the Washington loss at home, they took on a good San Diego State team in Pullman, and they blew out San Diego State, who, more on them in a second, but that's a team that's terrorizing the Mountain West right now. Wazoo plays San Diego State and Jane Denegal over in Pullman, and they blow them out 36-13. So I'm going to go Wazoo here at home. Again, it's a team that's playing with a lot of confidence right now. I think they're able to go out there and beat the Toledo Rockets. Give me the Wazoo Cougars plus 100 at home in Pullman against Toledo. And here are the aforementioned San Diego State Aztecs. Fresno State's at home. I'm not mistaken. It is homecoming. They're at home in Fresno on FS1. I think the game got moved to. Originally supposed to be on Fox, but Iowa State BYU got that spot. Guys, going to Fresno and winning is really difficult. It is. It's a tough place to go and win. Why? Because you look at the Mountain West and you look at the game day environments you have to play in, and I get it. There's some tough spots. Like going to Hawaii is obviously a tough trip. Wyoming gets a decent crowd, but there is not. If I'm mistaken, correct me. But I think Boise included. I will check this right now. Fact check myself here. There is not a tougher crowd, a larger crowd you're going to play in front of than Fresno State. Yeah, Boise State's capacity is 36,000. Fresno's is about double that. A little less than double, but it's around like 67-ish, 66-ish, I think. People show up to Fresno State Bulldogs football games, and there's not much to do in the state of Fresno, city of Fresno. It's like 50,000 up, 60,000. But regardless, it's tough. Playing in front of 50,000 people in Fresno, that's difficult. Okay, it is a difficult spot to be in. There's not much else to do in the city of Fresno, so everybody, trust me, like I've been, everybody in Fresno goes to games, okay? So when you take away, some of these environments, like even like I know Snapdragon, again, they get people to go to San Diego State games, but it's not like a marquee attraction, all right, in San Diego. I've watched San Diego State games where there's absolutely nobody there, right? Fresno gets crowds. It's a tough place to go and play, and it's different than the rest of the Mountain West. Like hell, look at San Diego State's last game where they played UNR on the road. There's not a single soul at University of Nevada football games. Like ESPN's claiming there was 15,000 people at the Nevada SDSU game. I doubt it. Okay, a lot of these schools in the Mountain West, other than Boise and Fresno, they don't get big crowds. Going to Fresno, this is why it's such a shock for some teams going here. And really, again, home field advantage is a thing in the Mountain West. From Hawaii to Fresno, really the only one that doesn't really have great home field advantage is San Jose State, because you're lucky if 4,000 people are at a San Jose State football game. But anyways, Fresno gets crowds, and it's a tough place to play. They're playing in the middle of the day, oddly enough. So Fresno, I mean, if you know anything about the Central Valley in California, it's hot, okay? It is scorching hot all the time in the Central Valley. So Fresno usually plays at night. Now I know, again, the college football season extends into the fall and whatnot, and into the early winter. So obviously it cools down as the year goes on. Fresno's playing this game during the middle of the day on Saturday. It's not gonna be that hot. It's gonna be like high 70s, I think. But it's interesting. Like Fresno never plays in the middle of the day, and they're gonna have their HOCO game in the middle of the day too. Kind of odd. Anyways, though, Fresno, I think, is going to be a lot tougher on SDSU than people expect. San Diego State has put together a good resume so far. They're a 5-1 football team. Their best win so far this season is a home game over JKS and the Cal Golden Bears, winning the game 34-0 at home. Did San Diego State, and they've parlayed that into a bunch of success. Again, we talked about that game where they went to Pullman and lost and got blown out by Wazoo 36-13. Look at all the success San Diego State has had since that game. 34-0 victory against California. 6-3 victory at NIU, but they found a way to beat Northern Illinois. 35-24 victory against Colorado State, a 44-10 victory on the road at UNR. They're finding ways to win. Guys, none of these teams are on the level of Fresno State. I could argue Fresno might be better than California. And I know. Fresno just got blown out in Colorado against Colorado State in Fort Collins, Colorado. It was bad, okay? Defense just got off to a horrible start. Weird Friday night game. Again, weird things happen in the Midwest sometimes. Home field advantage is so huge. It is. Look at Fresno's only played 3 home games all year long. They blow out Georgia Southern. They beat Nevada. And again, they're winning big in. Nevada made a late game comeback and almost came back against Fresno, but the Bulldogs won, and then a blowout victory against the SWAC zone and the Southern Jaguars. But Fresno's a much better home team. E.J. Warner, again, playing with a little more confidence. I say a little bit because he did make some bad mistakes early in that game against Colorado State. But Fresno State's had a full bye week going into this one, and I get it, SDSU's the same exact way here, but I believe Fresno wins this football game. But better yet, we get plus 3 points on it, and taking plus 3.5, not 3 points, 3.5 points, and taking this line gives us minus 120 for the Bulldogs. And I really like that. I think Fresno is able to cover this line fairly easily. I think they might win. Again, I think SDSU's good. I think Jaden Denegal's done a pretty good job at quarterback this year, and it really helps when you have a very good wideout and Jordan Napier, who's got about 600 yards already this season in 6 games. He's had a monster year for them. Telling you, Fresno plays good defense. Fresno's run game, when they get going, it's pretty decent. And when E.J. Warner gets comfortable in the pocket and he starts scrambling, it's trouble. It's trouble with Fresno. And again, Fresno brought in E.J. Warner to be a game manager and a facilitator. At his best, that's what he can do very effectively. So there's a reason, again, he was a big name guy in the portal, and that's why Fresno went out and got him. Again, played at Temple, played at Rice. I like Fresno and Warner to cover 3.5. It's Hoco. I believe they do the blackout, I think that's what they're doing this weekend, at least this year for their homecoming. Should get a pretty good crowd middle of the day. I think Fresno comes through. Give me the Bulldogs, plus 3.5. Here against the San Diego State Cougars. Wow, San Diego State Aztecs. Give me Fresno State. Nobody calls them FSU. Next up, let's go to the other game we're picking at midday spot, 1 o'clock. I did pass on Vandy, Missouri. I did. I think it's very playable. I thought about it. It was between taking Vandy and Cincy. I'm taking Cincinnati instead. I have more confidence in Cincinnati putting it on Baylor than I do Vandy beating Missouri. Why? I feel like something's got to go wrong for Vanderbilt eventually, right? Again, I know people are really high on Pavia, and, they got game day this week, and that's great and all, but, is Vandy going to continue to really keep winning games like this? I think Pavia is really good, but I don't know. Sometimes the lights are just too bright. And I don't know. That I feel like, I don't know. I think they're going to win. I think they're going to cover, but that's my only concern in that one. It's you got a lot of attention on Vanderbilt football. And Mizzou, I know, again, I haven't been too impressed with them this season, but they're not a bad team either. They're no pushover. I'm going to stay away from that. Anyways, the Baylor Bears go on the road to Cincinnati, Ohio to take on the Cincinnati Bearcats at Nippert Stadium. I'm taking the Bearcats, man. Guys, Cincinnati quietly is a very good football team. I think we're going to get great value on them next week in Utah. I think the Utes are playing good football too, and again, I just need to watch both of their games first before I do that, obviously, but I'm looking at a Cincinnati team, and again, not to get too carried away with Utah and Cincy next week, but I'm looking at a Cincy team that's got playoff aspirations, and I'm looking at Utah, who just lost their second game. They lost their rivalry game in the Holy War. Don't love that. So again, we'll get to Cincy and Utah next week, and that'll be part of our 4 hour plus extravaganza on Monday like we do every single week. But anyways, Cincinnati versus Baylor. Guys, I hype him up all the time for a very good reason. Just how good is Brendan Sorbsy? How good is Brendan Sorbsy? 1,800 yards, 18 touchdowns, 1 interception this season, 66% completion rate. Oh my goodness. And he's just a junior. Again, hey, come back to Bloomington. Come back to Bloomington. There is a spot for you, Brendan Sorbsy, happily. You can play for Kurt Cignetti. I'm just saying, I know he left because they brought in Curtis Rourke for a good reason. He's proved his worth. And Cincinnati this year has been a unit. They've been very good. Their only loss is a 3-point loss at a neutral site game at Arrowhead in Kansas City against the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Since then, Cincy's done nothing but win. 34-20 victory over Bowling Green, 70-0 victory against Northwestern State. A road win against Kansas. That's difficult to do. The Jayhawks are good. They beat them 37-34. A 38-30 victory, over at the time ranked 14th Iowa State. A 20-11 victory over the Central Florida Knights, and then a 49-17 victory at Oklahoma State at Stillwater. I know, again, and anybody can beat Oklahoma State. I get that, but the Bearcats are playing good football, and that's all I can ask. That offense is moving right now. Brendan Sorbsy is playing excellent ball for the Bearcats. And I look at Baylor, I'm like, all right, they can score. Cincy, though, is going to score every single time they touch the ball. And I know Sawyer Robertson puts up huge numbers every single week, but they'll have games like last week. They went to Fort Worth and they scored 36 points and lost. I get it. Josh Hoover's, TCU's a great offense. Cincy's going to put up that many points too, though. That's my thing. I think the Bearcats are going to put up that 40-plus point night on Baylor, and it's, again, that Baylor defense just gets shredded every single game they play. Arguably, they should have lost at home in Waco to K-State. K-State had a game-winning field goal, and I get it. It was a deep field goal. It was 50-something yards. But still, they blocked it, and good on them. They got the victory. But Baylor's a little sketchy, man. I mean, I saw Auburn put up 38 points in them in Waco. I saw Arizona State win that game and find a way to win in Waco as well, and they just suffered their first road loss at Texas Christian. Now, they've got a good road win, too, this year. Don't get me wrong. They went to Dallas, and they beat Southern Methodist in double overtime, and Sawyer Robertson had 440 yards. It was one hell of a game, I believe, on the CW network, too. But I think the Bearcats, that offense is just too nice right now. I really like what Sorbsy's been doing. He's been airing it out. That run game, it is what it is. I mean, that run game is just a supplemental piece of the offense. It is all really Brendan Sorbsy and what he's able to do with his arm, and they really rely on that too. But Sorbsy, I mean, the best game he's played all year is that Kansas game on the road, throwing for 390 yards. And here's the thing again, Baylor has to go to Nippert Stadium and play this team. Last time we saw Cincinnati play a big game at home, it was Iowa State. They were ranked 14th at the time. They were undefeated, and the Bearcats took care of them. 38-30 victory for Brendan Sorbsy and the guys. Again, I'm telling you, this is a good Bearcats team. It's a really good Bearcats team. And once they get into pass-heavy mode, right, they catch you with Evan Pryor running the football. Brendan Sorbsy can run the ball as well. It is a pass-first approach for the most part, but there are some games, again, well, actually, in all fairness, that Iowa State game was pretty run-heavy for them. But, again, Sorbsy's going to make those plays through the air, on the ground. I like Sorbsy a lot. I like Cincinnati a lot, and they should take care of the Baylor Bears, especially, again, with that Baylor secondary. That's where Cincinnati should really get going. And, again, they should hit them underneath, too, with the run game as well. So I'm all over the Bearcats in this spot. I believe they beat the Baylor Bears, and I think they cover as well at home. -3 points for the Bearcats, who are legitimate playoff contenders. We'll see what happens next week in Salt Lake City. We'll see if I want to make a bet on that game or not. But give me the Bearcats at home, -3 against the Baylor Bears. On to our 6th best bet of the video, we go to Iowa. Ames, Iowa. I guess we went back 30 minutes. Excuse me. This game's at 12:30. The last one we talked about is at 1. I'm taking Brigham Young to beat Iowa State. I am. I think this continues. I think this BYU tomfoolery continues to go on. And I know I've picked a lot against Brigham Young, and, hopefully, the week we finally jump on the bandwagon, it starts to go our way. But in big games all year long, I have picked against the Brigham Young Cougars. It's time to jump on the bandwagon, isn't it? I picked against them in the Arizona game. I picked against them in the Holy War last week against Utah. I did pick against them in the Colorado game, and Colorado did cover that game a couple weeks ago, about a month ago. But it's time I officially hop on the Cougars train. Let's go BYU. Okay, let's go Provo here. They're on the road in Ames, Iowa against a good Iowa State team. I understand that, but an Iowa State team that has lost 2 games, albeit both on the road at Nippert Stadium and at Folsom Field against both Cincinnati and Colorado, but it is a beatable team. And it's an Iowa State team that is 2-2 in the Big 12. Look at their 2 wins. Arizona had a great non-con, has not played well so far in the Big 12 this year, and then K-State and Ireland do not care, right? You look at what Iowa State has done recently in the Big 12, losses back-to-back in Cincinnati and Colorado. Brigham Young is better than Colorado. Are they better than Cincinnati? Time will only tell with that. The Cougars go to Nippert Stadium later in the year. Anyways, though, again, I keep, whenever I look at BYU games, I'm like, this just doesn't make sense. I don't know how this team continues to win. I don't understand. They don't throw the ball. They can't throw the ball. Bear Bachmeier is a below average passer of the football. Like they have two really good receivers. It's Chase Roberts and it is Parker Kingston. But the rest of the receiving core is not that great. And again, for the most part, Bear Bachmeier doesn't even get them the football. He's had games where he throws for under 100 yards. I just don't understand it. He has many games where he throws for under 200 yards. It's hard to explain. They just find ways, man. Bachmeier, again, he can go, and this is how BYU is, man. They rarely throw the ball on first down, because why would they? You have a guy in Bear Bachmeier who I assume is throwing under 50%. Okay, I guess he's got the FCS games to pad it. He's throwing about 60% this year per completion rate. That's not as bad as I'm making it out to be. But it's just a guy who's not a very good thrower of the football. And he's a true freshman. He's 18 years old. He's going, or maybe might be 19. He's going to be fine. Bachmeier is going to be a very good quarterback in a couple seasons. But right now, he is purely dependent on the run. But here's the thing. They barely throw the ball on first down. And their O-line's so good, they get such a push on first down where, okay, now we're dealing with the 2nd and 3. Okay, let's run the ball again. Oh, we get pushed back a yard. Okay, 3rd and 4. Spread them all out. Bear Bachmeier, give him a passing play where he's probably just going to take off and he'll find a way to scramble for more than 4 yards. Again, it's a difficult yet simple offense on paper to figure out, but it just works. They find ways. And obviously, don't get me wrong. Brigham Young's been bailed out a couple times over the years, or I can count 3 games where they got bailed out with penalty calls, but it's okay. They find ways. I'm done questioning it at this point, and I'm just like, all right, Brigham Young's better than I thought they were. I'm done saying, oh, well, Rhett Flaff is gone. I think they got, talent-wise, are not great this year, at least going into the season they were. I don't care. They're finding ways. I'm completely jumped off the anti-Brigham Young train. I'm fully on it now. Choo, let's go. Let's go, Bear Bachmeier. Let's not complete a pass all drive long. 8 yards, 9 yards, 8 yards, 7 yards, 6 yards, 7 yards, all on the ground. Let's keep it going. And it helps, too, when, again, Bachmeier is an excellent runner of the football. People will say he's a running back. And, in all fairness to Bachmeier, 1,300 yards, 9 touchdowns, 3 picks in 7 games. It's not great. It's under 200 yards a game, but it's okay. They've got a really good running back in LJ Martin, and that's what makes them dangerous too. Like, okay, Bachmeier can run, but they have a very talented back as well in LJ Martin, who's got 800 yards in 7 games. He's a big factor, and Bachmeier is really used more as their red zone runner. He's got 8 touchdowns. He's got double the touchdowns Martin has, but again, that is a very tough guy to figure out too. Because, he's not an excellent thrower of the football, but he has the ability to throw, Iowa State, they've not looked good in back-to-back weeks. The offense is not, the Cincinnati game wasn't bad for them offensively. The Colorado game, man, they just did not look good offensively. Yeah, they're running the ball and ripping it for like 8 yards a carry. Passing-wise, Beck got really shut down. 18 for 33 throwing, passing, 200 yards. Didn't love it. And I'm not amazed by Colorado's defense. I don't think they're bad, but I don't know. I've seen teams go into Folsom this year and beat them. Or to Boulder, go to Folsom Field and beat them in Boulder. I got to go Brigham Young here. I think it's a very undervalued spot. I was all over Utah last week, and don't get me wrong, there was not a single person who was higher on the Utah Utes last week than I was. I was out here telling you to take minus 10.5 on the Utah Utes. Okay, I'm not gonna hide from that. I was all over Utah last week. BYU won at plus 145 on the money line. We got to take them this week. If we're getting Brigham Young at plus 120 to win, and they were plus 145 last week at home against Utah, I got to take them here. I'm taking Brigham Young to go on the road and beat Iowa State. I believe they are better than Iowa State, okay? If this is a neutral site game, I'd take BYU. Obviously, if it was in Provo, I'd take BYU. It's in Ames. Don't care. I'm taking BYU. Give me the Brigham Young Cougars to win the football game on the road, plus 120 for BYU and Bachmeier to get it done. Again, the defense will really hold Iowa State, in my opinion, and Bachmeier and Martin should do their thing on the ground. So give me Brigham Young. Next up, we go on to the ACC. Nothing screams Atlantic Coast Conference more than a 4 p.m. matchup at the Hard Rock between the Miami Hurricanes and the Stanford Cardinal. Give me Stanford plus 30.5. I like how this line's gone up, by the way. This line opened at around 27.5, 28.5 when it was thought that backup quarterback Elijah Brown was going to play for the Stanford Cardinal. Of course, Ben Gulbranson gets injured in the Florida State game, and here comes backup Elijah Brown, a guy who a lot of people wanted to start the season, but it's myself included. I've wanted Elijah Brown. Anyways, Stanford has said, nope, Ben Gulbranson is probable, and Ben Gulbranson will start at Miami. Obviously, the fifth-year senior from Oregon State who had one point in time recently actually retired from the sport, but he's back and active, and he will be active and playing this week in Miami against the Hurricanes. Why is Stanford a 30-point underdog here? Explain that to me. Like, I know they're not good, and I believe Miami's going to win the game by like 3 touchdowns. 30.5 points? Guys, we can find 31.5, even better. I get it. Cross-country trip for Stanford might not go well. Sure. Their 2 cross-country trips this year, they still covered 30.5. They've covered 30.5 in every game that they've played. Obviously, the blowout games they have in Provo, 27-3 loss against BYU. In Virginia, 48-20 loss to the Cavaliers. At Dallas and in SMU against the Mustangs, 34-10. They've covered in every single game that they've played. And I get it, Miami's a whole nother monster. Guys, Stanford, if they can score 2 touchdowns, ooh, does Miami cover that? I mean, if Stanford scores 2 touchdowns, you need Miami to score 45 points here, which I know they're capable of doing, and I get it. Like, they just made Carson Beck made some horrible mistakes last week, and it was the worst game I've seen well, obviously, it's the worst game Carson Beck played as a Miami Hurricane so far, and they couldn't run the ball, and that's been a theme the last 2 weeks, both on the road against FSU and then at home against the Louisville Cardinals, but getting Stanford at plus 30.5 just feels too good, guys. Stanford was like an 18.5 point dog last week, and they beat Florida State outright. Now, I'm not telling you to take Stanford money line this week. Hell, I don't even know if your books are even offering it this week. But after what Stanford did last week, can we really count this team out? And I get it. Again, are they elite? No. They're plus 3,500 underdogs. Miami coming back at you at minus 20,000 favorites, which is just a little absurd. I hope nobody plays that. Stanford's not that bad. They're bad. They're not that bad, though. And I get it. Their wins are, Boston College sucks. Florida State sucks. They've beaten the only 2 0-4 teams in the ACC, and there's a very good chance they'll beat the other winless team right now who's only 0-2 in the ACC in North Carolina in a couple weeks at Chapel Hill. But they found a way to win those games. In both games, they were they were double-digit dogs against, and they found ways to beat BC and Florida State. San Jose State, when they found a way to win the game at home, too. I know SJSU has not been great this season, but they find ways to win. And in every loss, it's all been on the road. Hawaii, BYU, SMU, Virginia, they cover. And I get it. It is Miami. They have an influx of talent. I still believe, yes, they are the best team in the ACC, and they probably still will go on to win the Atlantic Coast Conference, even though they do not control their own destiny still. But they'll be a playoff team. I fully expect this team to probably go 11-1. I don't know. At SMU, though, I don't know. SMU might give them trouble. We will wait and see. Again, Miami has been, historically, at least recently, horrible chokers. So we'll see. Obviously, there's a reason Miami's never touched the playoffs with all this money they pour into this program. And I'm not a Miami hater. I actually, I've been on Miami all year long. I've called Carson Beck the best quarterback in college football for quite a bit. Unfortunately, I can no longer say that. Well, one, because of his game last week, and the fact that Fernando Mendoza is just better. And yes, Ty Simpson's playing well too, I guess. Mendoza's the man. And no, there's no Indiana today because I'm not betting on them to cover 22.5. I think Stanford covers here. 30.5 points is just way too many. It is. That's simply what I'm looking at it here. Yeah, again, Gulbranson's playing. Would we rather it be Elijah Brown? Yeah, I agree. But Gulbranson, he's a game manager. He's like 25. He'll figure it out. Legitimately, Stanford scores 14 points. We should be fine. They score 14. They score 2 touchdowns and a field goal. We're good. I don't think Miami's scoring 48. I know the Stanford defense isn't great. They give up points to everybody, but the offense can kind of hang. Don't get me wrong. Like they found it with their backup running back last week against FSU. Sure, a lot of that comeback, or a lot of that, well, it was just a preserving of a lead at that point. But I mean, Elijah Brown was a big reason to that, and I get it. They're going Gulbranson, but I'm okay here. I'm going to take the Stanford Cardinal on the road, plus 30.5 over against Miami. Next up, we move on to the SEC. Potentially the biggest matchup of the week. On the road, I'm going to be taking the Texas A&M Aggies in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, against the LSU Tigers. Can't trust an LSU. Cannot trust them at all. Okay? I don't know why this game's so tight on the odds. Maybe because, LSU, I guess they only lost on the road this year. And even in those losses, they've lost competitive games at Ole Miss and at Vandy. I understand that. You have an offense that's not really moving the football. You have an offense that isn't great running-wise. You have a quarterback who's supposed to be elite, and now he's just mid. He's not really converting when you need it. You don't really convert third downs over midfield. I mean, what do you want me to say about Louisiana State? They have a great defense. I will say that, and I will give them a lot of credit. But at some point, that great defense is going to crack, and we saw Vandy scored 31 points against them last week. Again, that great defense, they did all right. But, man, I saw Pavia have a lot of success against them. I saw it. And now you get Texas A&M. and Marcel Reed, who might be, I don't want to call Marcel Reed underrated. I don't want to call him that, because I think, I don't want to say he's properly rated, but I just don't think people understand how good Marcel Reed really is. Like, he's known, obviously, so I don't want to call him underrated, but Marcel Reed's a great talent. I mean, there's been one team that's gone into South Bend and outdueled and won a shootout against Notre Dame. It's Texas A&M. And sure, they messed up an extra point. Okay, who won the football game? Texas A&M. They're a 7-0 football team, a team that could be looking right now. I mean, would you not say they're going to go 12-0? Their 3 ranked games to close the year, I get it, are all against ranked teams. Like, it's on the road against LSU. All their ranked games are on the road. LSU, Missouri, Texas. I'm taking them to win every single one of those games. Am I hyping up A&M a little too much? Maybe. Like, I get it, they give up points, but that's the thing about A&M, though. They score on everybody. The one thing on them is that their defense isn't that good. LSU's offense sucks. In a matchup like this, I always see the team that I know for a given can score, right? And when you get a bad offense versus a bad defense, but a good defense versus a good offense. Okay. Like, these are rare, but you get them sometimes. I'm always taking the team that I know has a good offense, because they score against everybody. Guys, Notre Dame's got a really good defense. Okay, look what Notre Dame does when they play South Carolina. I get it. Lenora Sellers and those, sorry, not South Carolina, sorry. When they play Arkansas. Okay, and I get Taylor Green, and that team haven't been great, but Arkansas, right before playing Notre Dame, scored 35 points at Ole Miss. They scored 30 plus against Memphis, and then they played Notre Dame in Fayetteville and scored 13 points, right? Notre Dame doesn't give up points. Miami, great offense, scored like 27 against Notre Dame. Yeah, A&M went to South Bend in Indiana and beat them by 1 point, sure, but they scored 41. It doesn't matter what defense they play, they put up points. Arkansas doesn't have a great defense, but 45 points against Arkansas, 34 against Florida. And sure, I mean, yeah, they're giving up 42 points at the same time to the Razorbacks. They're giving up 40 points to Notre Dame. Sure. Can LSU do that? The answer to that question to me is no. Not at all. I don't think LSU's able to keep up. I don't think LSU's able to score those amount of points. LSU's high in points all year long. You take away their game against FCS Southeastern Louisiana. They're high in points all year long is their last game where they scored 24 points against Vanderbilt, and they needed a miraculous break 5 tackles touchdown to go through for them in that game to even get those 24 points. I don't want to hate on Nussmeier, but he's been horrible this season. He has. Nussmeier has taken a step back from a very good and inspiring 2024. And I get it, the LSU run game was never incredible last year. Again, Caden Durham, who was the number 1 back last season and is still the number 1 back now, he was all right last year. He's been stonewalled this year. There's nowhere to go. The O-line doesn't run block well. Yeah, their defense is good. It's loaded. I get that. You're not stopping A&M. I'll be damned. I get it. The game's in Baton Rouge. How hyped up is this crowd, though? You've lost 2 games. You're 5-2. You're, yeah, you could still make the playoffs, but like, okay, say you do win this game, which they're not going to. Oh, then you got to go to Tuscaloosa in a couple weeks. I mean, their season's fried, and that comes with playing in the Southeast. I get it, the SEC is a gauntlet every single week. I understand there's no easy games, but dude, I mean, I got to go A&M here. I got to go Texas A&M on the road. -2.5. Give me the Aggies -120 on the road. In Baton Rouge, going to Death Valley is not that difficult right now. And again, the Tigers don't run the ball. Nussmeier has not been great. And I know Marcel Reed's great. So give me A&M to win the game on the road in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. On to our next best bet. Okay. Michigan State at home against Michigan, +14.5. This might sound a little crazy because of how Sparty has played this year. Last year, and I get it, Michigan is not the team that they're better now than they were last year. I think I can say the same about Michigan State. At least I hope I can say the same about Michigan State. But hear me out here. Last season, Sparty was struggling, and I get it, Michigan wasn't great either, but that game was a 7-point game last year at the Big House in Ann Arbor. This time around, games in East Lansing, and Michigan State is a 14.5-point dog. To me, that's just too many points. I think it's way too many points. I think it's way too many points for a team that has shown signs of life recently. Have they been the most impressive all year long? No. That Indiana game, and I know, again, they start the game up. They're up, what was it, 10-7? Big time. Game's 10-7, okay. I'm not concerned because, the Indiana offense had only touched the ball once at that point in time. But I'm like, hey, look at this Michigan State offense. They did lose the game, ended up losing the game, what was it, 38 to 13. 38 to 13. It was a 10-7 game at one point. And the offense early looked really good. Defensively, they struggled, but I mean, I haven't seen a defense other than Iowa really put up a great fight against Indiana so far this year, and that should just be, that should just go to show like how good the Indiana Hoosiers are this year. Aiden Shiles, again, is a roller coaster to watch at quarterback sometimes. And there's a backup quarterback as well, Michigan State. Probably going to butcher his name, but it's Alessio Milovic, I believe that's how you pronounce his name, who, is kind of on Shiles' ass a little bit, I would think, at least just from a viewing perspective. In terms of, I think Alessio does a decent job. Shiles is the starter. He's a playmaker. He's an athlete out there. And he doesn't play a bad game against Indiana. I mean, there's a lot of big third and longs early in that game. And again, those don't continue to fall for Michigan State as the game goes on. Obviously, Indiana's defense buckles down. They've got a really good defense over there in Bloomington. But Michigan State, there's so many opportunities early in that game where, okay, you think Indiana's going to get them off the field, and it's just going to all start to go downhill for the Spartans. Well, Michigan State, again, there is big third down after third and long conversion over and over and over again, where the Spartans just find ways to continue drives. And I get it. They've lost 4 straight games, and they've only covered this line in 2 out of the last 4 games that they've played. They went to USC. We actually got the same exact line, and we took Michigan State at the Coliseum, plus 14.5 against USC. And yes, it was a garbage time touchdown from Aiden Childs and Nick Marsh that did cover the line, but it did. And then obviously the week after they go to Nebraska, lose by 11 points. They then hosted UCLA, and we didn't know what resurgence was coming at least for the Bruins. But UCLA goes into East Lansing and beats them 38-13. And they go to Bloomington and suffer the same exact L, 38-13 to the Hoosiers. But again, that's the number 1 team in the country. I don't care about Ohio State. Indiana's number 1. And they're going to prove that this week. But I like the direction Michigan State's going. I think there's a lot of pressure on this team to be competitive and start winning football games because they've been, the Michigan State rebuild has been going for quite a bit now. I mean, struggled last year, struggled in 23. 2022 wasn't all that great for them. And the last good year Michigan State was 21? That's the Peyton Thorne year, where they went to the Peach Bowl and beat, was that Kenny Pickett's Pittsburgh, wasn't it? Pickett didn't play that game, though. Yeah, it's been a while since Michigan State's seen a lot of success. So there's some pressure on this team. Michigan, it's not like they're blowing teams out. I mean, yeah, they picked up a really big win against Washington, but this is the thing about college football, and this is the thing about rivalry games. It's Michigan State. I mean, this is going to be a competitive game. Watch Utah and BYU last week. I mean, again, I know the odds were very close going into it, but those games are always tight. It's just what rivalry games are. Michigan State, I can expect to be close. I get it again. Michigan held Washington to 7 points last week. Good victory. Again, that defense is still very good. I'm not completely sold on Underwood just yet. Underwood, I have not seen a great game out of him. And that run game, it's Michigan and Wolverines football, obviously, right? The run game's always going to be good. Justice Haynes, Jordan Marshall's getting really involved in the run game, too. I understand that. I think, again, in a rivalry capacity, rivalry setting, I believe the Spartans are going to be able to be close. So I'm going to take Michigan State in this outing, plus 14.5. At home against the Michigan Wolverines. Again, you look at last year's game, I get it, different clubs, different squads, I get that. Michigan was very horrible offensively last year. Still 7-point game, though, in Ann Arbor at the Big House. This year, it's at East Lansing. I think Michigan State's competitive in this one, plus 14.5 for the Spartans on prime time. Got to get one best bet in for the late night game. I can't even say games this week out. There's only one game at 7 o'clock, actually at 7:15 specifically. Gimme the Buffs. Plus 14.5. The line's at 13.5. We're going to buy a point to get it at 14.5 here, just so I feel a little bit more confident in it. Yeah, give me the Colorado Buffaloes, all right? Give me Colorado to come through on the road. Do I think Utah wins? Yes, definitely. I think Utah 100% wins this football game. I should not say 100%. I think Colorado's going to be really close, though. If you give them 14 points, and again, we're buying a point in this spot, I think we should be fine. Utah's coming off the highs and lows and the roller coaster of whatever the hell last week was against Brigham Young. And Colorado is coming off their biggest win yet against Iowa State, again, at home. And I don't think Colorado's not one away from Folsom Field yet this season, but it comes a time where, again, they're going to finally get one. And I don't know if it's going to be this game because Colorado, their biggest loss this season has been 16 points. And it was at Houston. That was a game that they were starting Ryan Staub. Nothing against, Martin Luther Staub, but it really feels like, again, Caden Salter was their guy coming into the season, and Caden Salter has shown that he is the guy for the Buffaloes this year. So Salter is officially the starter again, right, after Staub got benched after the Houston game, and Salter's done a pretty good job. He's had this team at 2-2, and every game that Salter has played and Salter has started, the Buffs have covered. 7-point loss against Georgia Tech, 17-point win against Wyoming, 3-point loss against Brigham Young, sure at home, road loss at TCU by 14, game that should have really been a 7-point loss, but Texas Christian threw the ball with 30 seconds to go in the red zone. Okay. And then a 7-point win against Iowa State. This team's figuring out defensively. They are. Like, the defense for Colorado has been their best spot. And again, Caden Salter is not horrible, former Liberty Flames quarterback, but the defense has been stopping teams. And I got to give a lot of credit to, again, what Prime's been doing over here. I think Prime's very overhated. I think the Sanders family is very overhated, but I do like Colorado quite a bit. Could this be Prime's swan song here? I don't think so. I think he's pretty dedicated to this role, I believe. And I think it would take a Shador starting role to get Prime out of this spot. If the Browns fire Stefanski, which they should do, but whatever. Anyways, the Utah Utes coming off of the roller coaster loss that was the Holy War. Losing it by 3 points, really lost by 10. Dampier and the guys scored a garbage time touchdown, and they attempted the worst onside kick I've ever watched after scoring the touchdown. But Utah, again, coming off of a very emotional loss at Brigham Young. You got to think about, motivation. You got to think about where this team's at. Guys, I said at the beginning of the year, I thought they were going to beat UCLA week 1, and I thought this team was going to go to the postseason. I thought this team was easily going to handle the Big 12 and win the Big 12. Well, sure, that was the expectation in Salt Lake City this year, and look at where they've ended up. They're 5-2, and sure, again, you can still put together a great 10-2 season. Well, you got to play Cincy next week, but you can put together a really good year, make a great bowl game, and go to the Cheez-It Bowl or whatnot. That's awesome. It's not what they wanted. And you got to think about a team, again, that is lacking a little bit of motivation. They just played their, on paper, biggest game of the year, and they were unsuccessful and they failed. And now you got to get excited for a Colorado Buffaloes team who is excited to play you, because Colorado just beat a ranked team. They are very pumped up for this game coming off a bye week. Utah just played on the road, and yeah, again, Provo's like 45 minutes from Salt Lake, but on the road in Provo, and you lost a tight game, and now you got to readjust for a late night spot against Colorado. I think the Buffs are competitive here. I think Colorado's going to catch Utah. I think they're going to hit them in the mouth, and I think the Buffs are going to be competitive. Again, my definition of competitive sometimes varies depending on the spread and what we expect to happen in a game. But if you're getting Colorado, and we are getting Colorado plus 14.5, why wouldn't I take this line? Why wouldn't I? Why wouldn't I take Colorado plus 14.5? I think we're going to be perfectly fine in this spot. I think the Buffaloes should find a way to cover. Again, Caden Salter-led efforts for Colorado, and when Caden Salter has started, they have covered this line in every single game that they've played. And I get it, Utah has blown teams out this year. Everything I'm saying about Utah right now does not discredit how great Devin Dampier is. I think Dampier next year is going to be in the Heisman race. I think, at least with his arm, he needs to improve a little bit because, again, it's still an adjustment period going from playing at New Mexico last year in the Mountain West to playing now in the Big 12. Again, it's a much difficult, the Big 12 is not like it used to be where every defense sucks, right? It's it's obviously way more difficult playing in the Big 12 than it is in the Mountain West. You know what I mean there. I still think Dampier is great. I just think, again, where's your motivation at? Colorado's playing great and inspiring football right now, and I think Utah's going to struggle a little bit. Do I still think Utah wins? Yeah, I think they're going to, but I think Colorado's tight in this one. So give me the Buffaloes plus 14.5 in Salt Lake City against the Utah Utes. That comes out at minus 130 again for the Buffs. Folks, thank y'all for watching our college football best bets for week number 9. If you have not yet, though, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for more. Make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy the video. Make sure to comment if you disagree with any of the picks. We'll be back again on Monday, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, every single week for our college football predictions. Again, week 10 predictions out at 4 o'clock on Monday, so you're not going to want to miss that. Again, every single game on the college football week 10 slate. And also make sure to join us for, again, our other content on the channel, NFL, NBA, MLB, UFC, MMA. Make sure to go check those out. Again, folks, thank y'all for watching. Make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for more. And Mamba, forever.